time to float. Up, everybody, it's Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and tonight I want to talk to you guys about It and It Chapter 2. I thought about splitting this up into two videos, but I thought this is really one large story, obviously because of Stephen King's book, and I thought let's just cover it all in this one video. This is going to be like a retrospective. I just rewatched these movies for the first time in probably about a year. I watched Chapter 2 last night. And so they're fresh on my mind. I felt let's get the Pennywise juices flowing and let's kind of talk about these movies in a retrospective because I've never really talked about them on my channel. Now, let's go back to 2017. If you guys remember in 2017, this was all the rage. I mean, it was all the rage. I had never seen people so excited for a horror film in my lifetime. I mean, that's just a fact. I'd never seen it. You know, you thought Blair Witch, Paranormal Activity, Halloween 2018, some of these movies that really did gangbusters at the box office, and a lot of people talked about them, but nothing took over the consciousness of just the general public like it did. And my God, I just remember the hype for it was real. I saw it opening night, midnight showing after work, and when they used to do midnight showings. And it was fantastic. I mean, I had such a blast with the movie. I saw it 3 times in theaters, and I don't do that a lot. I only do it for movies that I really like, or movies like Halloween 2018 that I enjoyed, but I went for repeated viewing so I could kind of catch everything in it and see where I stood after some repeat viewings. Now, It, or It Chapter 1, or whatever you want to call it, this is the lenticular case, so just want to talk about the first part of the story really quick. I read the book leading up to this release because I loved the 90s miniseries as a kid. I grew up on it, obviously, as I'm sure a lot of us did. So I was really excited to see what this movie was going to be. And I wanted to read the book because I wanted to see, okay, what liberties is this film going to take from the book? What is it going to get right from the book that the previous iteration didn't? Well, if you've read the book, you know there's a lot of really weird stuff that we should be very thankful they did not include in the live action movies. But I was ready to go. I went and saw this, and I felt like it was very true to the book in a lot of ways that the miniseries wasn't. First and foremost, I've got to talk about Bill Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård was absolutely made for this role. I love Tim Curry's Pennywise. And as years have gone on, I still love his Pennywise, but I just do not. The nostalgia is the only thing that keeps me coming back to the 90 miniseries because I just don't think it's very good. I don't think it's very good, but there's nostalgia there and there's Tim Curry there. So I watch it every now and then. But immediately, Bill Skarsgård draws you in. The scene with Georgie, I remember being in the theater and watching Georgie's arm get bitten off and then having Georgie try to crawl away with one arm, bleeding everywhere, and Pennywise's hand coming out of the sewer. My jaw dropped in the theater. Like, I was with my brother. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, they really just showed all that. I didn't expect that. Maybe because the 90s miniseries was more tame. So I did not expect some of the brutality against children that we got in these movies. And honestly, it was the right way to go because that's what it is. What is there to say about this movie? You know, Bill Skarsgård brings it. I mean, he absolutely brings it. I think he was fantastic. I love the look of him. I love the fact that he can basically make his eye wander. It's not CGI. That's all Bill Skarsgård. I think he's given great material, great things to say in this movie. The Losers Club is cast perfectly. I think all of them serve a purpose. If there's one that I feel like is underutilized, it's definitely Mike. It's absolutely Mike in this movie. And I don't know why, because Mike plays a big role in the book. So it seemed a little weird. But I feel like together their camaraderie is great. I think they bounce off of each other and work well off of each other. You know, I think it works perfectly. I think that a lot of complaints that people have with this movie is, although I think most people agree they enjoy this movie, it's the CGI. And people think that, well, how can you not get this photorealistic CGI? And let me just say something. This was an intentional choice by director Andy Muschietti. He wanted those scares to look as they would appear to a child. He wanted them to look cartoony. He wanted them to look childish because it's all about childhood fears. It's supposed to mimic what a child would think is scary. It's not supposed to look photorealistic. I think the CGI is well done. I mean, you can tell it's CGI, but it's well done. And it works for what they were going for with the childish scares. I think that the set pieces are gorgeous. You know, I don't know how the house on Neibolt has not just caved in, but the set pieces are gorgeous. I think that it's funny, it's charming. There's not a lot of suspense, but there are some good jump scares. There are some good frightening moments that genuinely make you feel like, oh, wow, like this is kind of unsettling. And that's something that I feel like the 90 miniseries didn't do enough. I feel like you just really feel for these kids and you're really invested in these kids and you believe their friendships and you believe their fear. And the whole climax of this movie is awesome. I mean, I remember taking a video of Richie doing his spiel to Bill before he says, now I'm gonna have to kill this fucking clown. Welcome to the Losers Club, asshole, and grabs a baseball bat. Like, I took a video of that on my phone when I was watching this one time when it first came out because it was just so freaking awesome. I loved it. I loved it so much. I like that they play on the idea that is very prevalent throughout the book that Derry is Pennywise in a sense of the adults, everyone that could potentially help you in this town, they turn a blind eye because they're almost like paralyzed by fear of Pennywise. Pennywise has infected all of them in a way. And it's really just, they hammer that home at the beginning with Georgie's death and the woman on her porch. She saw the blood. She knew a kid was there a few minutes ago. And what does she do? Oh, hell no, I'm getting out of here. So I love that they leaned into that because Derry has been infected by it. And it really shows in this movie. I think that there's a nature here. A lot of these movies and TV shows nowadays try to do this Stranger Things thing, as they call it. And Stranger Things was not the first thing to do that. But that's what people call it. Oh, they're trying to go Stranger Things. They even got Finn Wolfhard. And a lot of them fail at it. This movie did it great. It did it perfectly. You believe the kids. You believe their friendships. It's just great. I think that they drive the movie. There is a lot in this movie that it's provocative. It makes you think, whether it's Bev and her dad's relationship, because they're very vague about that relationship, but they're just not vague enough for you to kind of infer what's happening there. But I love that Muschietti at multiple points in this movie will give you a morsel of something, but then pull back on it without giving you too much. Because, you know, as a filmmaker, it's very effective we want to give you enough so you can kind of parse this together and understand kind of what's going on. But we don't want to overdo it and lean too much into something. And I think Muschietti's instincts in this movie really pay off. I think he was the right person for this job. I love this movie. When I saw this movie, I thought there would never be a better Stephen King adapted film. I thought that this was the pinnacle. I thought this was the cream of the crop. I thought it was untouchable. Well, I was wrong. Now, I was wrong because just 2 years later, we got It Chapter 2. And I know it is not the popular opinion to prefer this over the first film. I know it's not, but I do. And I'm going to give you my reasons why. And after having just rewatched it last night, it's very fresh in my mind. It Chapter 2, just like it, the hype was real. It was the highest grossing R-rated horror film of all time. All time. That is it. And It Chapter 2 is in the top 5 R-rated horror films of all time, highest grossing. So they both had so much like hype and just build up, and people were freaking ready for both of these movies. I absolutely love this movie. It is even better in my opinion than the first one. First, let's start off with Skarsgård again. Skarsgård's better in this movie. One, because Pennywise has a little bit more screen time, I believe, in this film. And even if he doesn't technically have more screen time, he has more of a presence. Because Pennywise is gone is the shtick of trying to convince you that he's a sweet clown. Aside from a few scenes with new kids, a lot of Pennywise's, scenes in this film are he's provoking you. He's taunting you. He's trying to scare you. You know who he is. He knows you know who he is. And he leans into the it side of him, that entity. So Skarsgård, again, home run. 2, the adults. I mean, they nailed the casting of the adults. Absolutely nailed them. James Ransom as Eddie, he looks just like the kid, grown up. I love James McAvoy, so I loved that he was the leading man as Bill. Bill Hader steals the freaking show and is so believable as an adult Richie. It is not a stretch of the imagination whatsoever that this is Richie all grown up. When they telegraph that to you, this is Richie all grown up. As soon as you're introduced, you're like, I buy it. Yeah. And he just grows into the role as it goes because, again, just like in the first movie, no matter what kind of crazy shit is happening, he's trying to be lighthearted. He's trying to be funny. He's trying to be the jokester because Richie doesn't want to take things too seriously. And it works so well. The scene, all you need to know about their chemistry is the scene at the Chinese restaurant. They are bouncing off of each other brilliantly. It's funny. It seems like it really does seem like they're longtime friends. There's a bond there. It does not look like actors acting. It literally looks like old friends getting together. And it's so endearing. I love that about this movie. I think, people say the actor that played Ben all grown up, I don't agree that he looks... Dude, look at this dude's face. And then look at young Ben, Jeremy Ray Taylor, who played young Ben. Put them next to each other. Their eyes, their facial, it's uncanny. So kudos to Muschietti. Absolutely fantastic casting. And they, again, just mesh so well and work off of each other so well. Guess what? This movie is more unrelenting than the first one. And how? How so? There is a scene under the bleachers with a little girl named Vicky. I did not think we were going to see Pennywise bite into this girl's face. And it happened. And you feel so bad for this little girl. There is a scene with a little boy in a house of mirrors. And you literally see him get eaten in half and blood shoots everywhere. I mean, it did not pull any punches. Kids are going to die because that's what it does. But it ups the ante a little bit from the first one. You see more. And it's like, oh man. The opening scene, if you've read the book, the scene with Adrian Mellon is from the book. And it was written from a personal experience that King had in the town he lived in Maine, where a gay couple was like brutally beaten and one of them was murdered. And he took that from his real life experiences and put it into this movie. And it is so hard to watch. It is so hard to watch. But it is a reminder of the harsh realities of this world. And it is it's a hard subject to tackle. I mean, it is a hard subject to tackle. I completely agree. But my God, does it make you feel exactly how you should feel? You are angry. You are angry at this town, these townspeople. You are disgusted by the fact that this would happen in modern day. And it's just holding a mirror up to us as a society, saying like, you may think you are holier than thou. You may think you do well. You do good things. Unfortunately, evil, disgustingly vile evil like this exists in this world every day. And I think they handle it really well in this opening scene. So again, this movie does not pull any punches. It's not holding back. It's going to give you the gross, the deep, the emotional, the almost, you could say, stepping over boundaries. This movie does that. The sequences where they're off on their own, having to get their mementos to burn, to create, to complete the ritual of Chud. It's so great. You get these great flashbacks of them as kids that we didn't see in the first movie, obviously filmed for this movie, but you get more of the kids again. And I love the kids. And you get to see more of that summer for them when they were separated, and the more Pennywise scared them when they were separated, and how no matter if they were alone or together, Pennywise was ever present. And I loved that stuff. And I loved that rediscovery of their childhood throughout this movie from the adult's perspective. I thought that was handled beautifully. There's some masterful, masterful shots in here. Whether it's the transition from I can't remember which one they've just introduced us to, but it's the night sky and we go up. Oh, yeah, we go up into the stars, and one of the stars is one of the jigsaw pieces on Stanley's table, and the camera comes up to the jigsaw piece. Beautiful. The shot of the from the sewer where all the water's pouring out and the camera turns and flips upside down, and then Henry Bowers comes up out of the water. Muschietti was in his bag in this movie, basically. He knew what he had with the first one, and he really let it fly in this one. And I just think that, technically speaking, the movie looks great. It's shot fantastically. It's beautiful. This movie also does this great thing in the ending, and when it comes to them all like having to face certain fears in other dimensions and get out of it before they truly face Pennywise one-on-one. He's so mean to Ben when Ben is like being buried alive by all that dirt, and Bev is seeing all these hideous people from her life and her past that she's overcoming, and Bill has to overcome his younger self, and Georgie taunting him that it's his fault, and it's this message of guilt and this message of also realizing that no matter what Bill did, it wasn't his fault. He didn't make Pennywise kill anyone. And I just think that is those are all those scenes are handled beautifully. I absolutely love it. One of my favorite things about this movie is the subplot that was not in the book that they created of Richie and Eddie. I loved it so much, and it makes so much sense because you guys, we were all kids once. We grew up. We had crushes, and when we had crushes, what did we do a lot? We picked on our crushes. I dated a girl in 4th grade. I dated her for a few days. We hated each other. It seemed, but really we had a crush on each other. And that's how it was for them as kids and even as adults. And it's organic. I mean, it works so well. You don't even go, oh, what? That seems forced. No, it is so organic. You get these hints throughout the movie, one through a flashback. Also, if you notice, like, for example, the Chinese restaurant, when everything's coming out of the fortune cookies, they show Bill Hader just go, Eddie, like, there's these little subtle hints throughout, and then you finally really get it at the end with the R+E on the bridge that he's carving, and I just think it is handled so well, and it makes the depth of Eddie's death that much heavier, because you really do believe that he loved him, and he never got to tell him because he was afraid, and he loved him on many levels. They're best friends, but he also was romantically and loved him, and it's just sad. It's so sad, and I thought that Muschietti handled this so well. It was such a beautiful inclusion into this movie, so kudos to them for that touch of originality as well. And then the ending. I want to talk about the ending because a lot of people have a problem with the ending. Let me tell you something. In the first half of the book, the ending of them as kids, they all have an orgy with Bev in the sewer. Why? To bond themselves together forever. It really happens. They're all like 13. That really happens in the book. So glad they didn't include that. The ending of their adult portion in the book, Bill has an interdimensional psychic fight with Pennywise with the help of the turtle that vomited up the universe. Yeah, that's a real thing. Stephen King used to do a lot of drugs. He's been very open about that. You can tell. Okay? You could tell. So the way they went about the ending in this movie was, it's very symbolic. For thousands, millions of years, Pennywise has fed off of fear. Pennywise got his strength from fear. It got its strength from fear. The adult losers decide, if we are not afraid of it, it has no power. Because its whole purpose, at least at this point in time, is to get revenge on them. So they band together to tell it, you are nothing. You're insignificant. You do not scare us anymore. And his last line is, look at you, all grown up. The realization that they're truly not afraid of me anymore. There's nothing I can do. And they've bested me. And it is so poetic. It's metaphoric. It's symbolism. It's everything. It is absolutely Is it a little anticlimactic? Absolutely. I mean, sure, we want a big bombastic fight and all that, but it's better than the miniseries ending, and it's better than the book's ending. So it's the best version of the ending of this story we've ever gotten. And I would still say it could use a better ending, but just how perfect it is with the theme of the movie and these two movies as a whole, I think it does work well. I really do think it does work well with its symbolism. And, you know, I knew this would be a longer video because we really got in depth with each movie. Because it's, it's a retrospective. Whatever. You guys came for a retrospective. If you've made it these 20 minutes, I am proud of you. I am proud of you. I am someone that watches long YouTube videos. I don't know how many other people do, but I'm proud of you for sticking around if you did. I just want to say that I don't know if I'll ever see hype for a horror movie like these two movies had all those years, not all those years ago. I'm making myself sound old. The last 5 years, there was nothing like it. Everybody saw it. Everybody talked about it. It took over pop culture. And I just will always hold those, those memories of that time near and dear to my heart because of how popular horror was and how everyone was paying attention to a property that I loved since I was a child, that I always felt needed a modern retelling. And they knocked it out of the freaking park, man. It and It Chapter 2 are head and shoulders better than the 90 miniseries. And I have a fondness for that. I do, but this is it's just handled so much better. And especially Chapter 2. Especially Chapter 2. To actually get the adult story right. Oh, man, because that was the worst part of that miniseries. But these were such event movies. This was such a big deal. They made so much money. They brought so many people into our world of horror. They gave us Pennywise again. And I think handled in a truly beautiful way. And for that, I am forever grateful to Andy Muschietti, to Stephen King for the property, to all the actors and writers and everything that made this possible. The Losers Club is iconic. It will live on forever. And I am actually going to get the tattoo that Eddie has on his cast, loser, and then with a V for lover. And I've seen people do that. And, have other people done it? Like I said, yeah, sure. But it means a lot to me. So I'm going to get it on my arm right here. Because these movies are just incredible. And I don't know if I'll ever see anything like this moment in time in my life ever again. So thank you guys so much for watching and listening to this It Retrospective, where we talked about Pennywise. Yes, the clown. That damn clown. Time to float. Thank you so much. Please make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think of It and It Chapter 2. What did it mean to you? What did this time in your life mean? Do you remember the hype? And do you love these movies? Do you hate these movies? Whatever it is, comment down below and let me know. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button right over there. Please hit the bell for notifications so you know when I upload. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I have both of those links down below, as well as a link to my Teespring where we are selling a hashtag Team Tina from Halloween 5 shirt, brand new, and a link to my Patreon. So thank you guys so much for watching, and this is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and it's time to float.